What would you think if I told you that there's a movement as old as humanity, as natural as breathing, yet the modern world has relegated it to oblivion? A movement that doesn't require machines, gyms, or grueling routines, and that, practiced consistently, could be the key to keeping your body young, agile and strong, even as the years pile up. That movement is the deep squat, and although most people today avoid it or consider it dangerous, the truth is that what's truly risky is losing the ability to do it. Because when the body forgets this primitive pattern, the true aging process begins. Stiffness, pain, and dependence. Imagine for a moment the simplest scene. A child playing, bends down to pick up a toy and effortlessly assumes the perfect deep squat position. His back is erect, his feet firm, his breathing fluid. The original design of the human body is encoded in that innocent gesture. We are all born with this wisdom engraved in our flesh. But over time, we stop practicing it. And what was natural becomes difficult, almost impossible. And what happens when we forget this secret? The body begins to compensate. We use our hands to lift ourselves. We round our backs instead of our hips. We take shorter steps. Little by little, we lose agility, independence, and even confidence in our own movement. Aging doesn't begin with wrinkles. It begins with the loss of this ancestral fluidity. The magic of the deep squat lies in its simplicity. In a single movement, it activates the glutes, quadriceps, hamstrings, core, and spine. It opens the hips, knees, and ankles. It awakens circulation and aids digestion. It's like a silent hymn to vitality, a practice that connects muscles, bones, and energy in a dance of rejuvenation. In this video, we'll reveal why the deep squat has been called the most powerful anti-aging exercise. We'll explore how this movement activates strength and longevity, circuits that most people don't know about, the ancient wisdom behind this primitive movement pattern, and most importantly, how you can incorporate it into your daily life to regain not only your mobility, but also your vital energy. 99% of people ignore it, but you won't be one of them. Because today, you're going to discover that the true secret to anti-aging isn't expensive treatments, but rather remembering what your body has always known how to do. Go down, hold up, and get back up. Get ready. What seems like a simple exercise is actually a ritual of physical and spiritual power. To understand why the deep squat can be considered an anti-aging exercise, we must go back to the very origins of humanity. Before chairs, sofas, and offices, human beings lived in constant connection with the earth. They cooked near fires, gathered fruit, rested under trees, and gathered in circles. And the most common posture in all of this wasn't what we call sitting today, but rather a deep squat, feet flat on the ground, hips low, spine erect. In many cultures, this posture was a symbol of connection with the essential. Among indigenous peoples of Africa and the Americas, the squat was used to work the earth, share stories, or perform collective rituals. It wasn't seen as an exercise, but rather as a natural part of life. The philosophy behind it was clear. To stay close to the ground was to stay close to Mother Earth, rooted and humble. In Asia, especially in China, India, and Japan, the deep squat was integrated into daily life until recently. Eating while squatting, conversing in this position, or resting in it was common, but in addition to its practicality, its energetic value was recognized. In the yoga tradition, many postures that open the hips and strengthen the legs derive from this primitive pattern. It was said that by descending toward earth, humans balance the lower chakras, the roots of vitality and stability, and that by maintaining an erect spine, they allowed vital energy, prana or chi, to ascend freely upward. Even in ancient Western cultures, the squat had a philosophical meaning. Greek philosophers recognized that movement was essential for the health of body and soul. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said that a lack of movement destroys the well-being of every human being, while exercise preserves it. Although he didn't speak directly about the squat, the principle was there. The ability to squat and rise was evidence of strength, longevity and vitality. Over time, modernity distanced us from the ground. Chairs replaced the squat, and with them came rigidity. We lost direct contact with the earth, and with it the wisdom of a movement that kept our joints young. Today, in many industrialized cultures, the elderly are no longer able to squat, while in rural and traditional communities, this posture remains a part of everyday life, and people maintain mobility well into old age. Philosophically, the deep squat holds a powerful teaching. Those who know how to descend and rise again retain the power of life. It's a symbol of humility and resilience. Descending is the only way to rise again. Every time you practice this gesture, you not only train your muscles, you also train your spirit in the art of renewal. Thus, what 99% ignore is not simply a physical exercise, but a cultural and spiritual legacy that reminds us of an uncomfortable truth. We've so sophisticated our lives that we've forgotten the essentials. And in this neglect lies one of the roots of premature aging. Most people associate youth with external appearance, smooth skin, the absence of wrinkles, and a vibrant face. But in reality, the true marker of youth isn't in the mirror, but in the body in motion. The ability to bend and stand up fluidly, to keep your spine erect and your joints free, is the truest reflection of inner vitality. And this is where the deep squat becomes the hidden gem of anti-aging. Physically, this movement engages almost every system in the body. Lowering into a deep squat activates the legs, glutes, hips, and core. The back works to stay aligned, the ankles regain mobility, and blood circulation is intensely stimulated. It's like igniting a complete energy circuit that runs through every muscle and joint. There's no other exercise as simple and yet as comprehensive. But the most important thing is what happens internally. With each descent, abdominal pressure is regulated, and the internal organs receive a natural massage. The intestines are activated, digestion improves, and the diaphragm finds a wider range of expansion. In other words, the body is not only strengthened, but also purified. Therefore, in traditional Chinese medicine, similar postures were recommended to promote longevity. It wasn't about sculpting muscles, but rather about keeping the vital qi flow free and abundant. Now, if we look at the movement from a spiritual perspective, we discover even more layers of meaning. The deep squat represents the act of lowering oneself to the earth and then rising again. It's a physical ritual of humility and rebirth. With each descent, you recognize your roots. You return to the earth, to the essential, to the origin. With each ascent, you are reborn, like someone rising from the ashes with greater strength and clarity. Practicing it is, in a way, repeating the eternal cycle of death and rebirth that permeates all of existence. The fascinating thing is that this gesture also works on an energetic level. By opening your hips and ankles, you unlock areas where we tend to accumulate tension and unresolved emotions. Yoga tradition teaches that the hips are repositories of emotional memories. By moving them, opening them, giving them space, those memories begin to release. This is why many people feel relief, even the urge to cry. When practicing deep squats, the body speaks, and movement becomes a means of catharsis. We can think of this exercise as a hidden fountain of youth. It's not a potion or a miracle, but rather a movement pattern that awakens in the body the memory of what it means to be alive. By practicing it consistently, the body remembers what it forgot: how to move without pain, how to hold oneself without fear, how to flow with gravity without fighting it. Furthermore, the deep squat trains something rarely mentioned in the modern fitness world: self-confidence. Those who can squat without fear of falling, who can stay close to the ground and get up with ease, retain not only mobility, but autonomy. And autonomy is one of the purest forms of freedom. Not depending on a cane or the help of others for the basics of life is in itself an antidote to aging. Thus, what seems like a simple exercise is actually an alchemical movement that unites the physical, the energetic, and the spiritual. A practice that, beyond toning or strengthening, reminds us that the secret to longevity is not in adding more, but in returning to the essential, We've already understood that the deep squat is not just a physical exercise, but a gesture laden with symbolism, regenerative power, and spiritual connection. However, there are less obvious nuances that deserve attention, because what many believe to be a simple movement can become a practice of self-discovery if done with full awareness. One of the most surprising aspects is that the difficulty in performing a deep squat isn't natural, but cultural. The human body is designed to do it. Young children perform it with complete ease, without training or effort. But in modern societies, the excess of chairs and lack of contact with the ground have atrophied this skill. What should be a basic movement pattern is now perceived as a nearly impossible challenge for millions of adults. And therein lies a harsh truth. We haven't aged because the years have passed, but because we've forgotten how to move the way we were meant to. Another important nuance is the contradiction between comfort and longevity. We surround ourselves with sofas, high chairs, soft beds, all designed to make our lives easier. But that comfort lies in the trap. By reducing the body's effort, we weaken it. The deep squat reminds us that true comfort lies not in avoiding effort, but in maintaining the ability to perform it. It is a call to return to the ground, to contact with the earth, to that space where life is sustained by simplicity. There's also a little explored energetic aspect. The deep squat as a portal to grounding. In a fast-paced world, we live with our energy dispersed upward in the mind, in our worries. By squatting down, you literally direct your energy toward the earth, strengthening the root chakra, the center that gives us stability, security, and connection to the material. It's like a grounding cable for your spirit, discharging what's superfluous and recharging what's essential. There's even a deep emotional undertone. Many people experience discomfort when holding the pose, not only due to physical stiffness, but because the body stores memories in the hips, knees, and ankles. Discomfort is an invitation to let go. Every second in a deep squat is an act of courage. You sit with your discomfort, observe it, breathe, and slowly transform it into strength. Finally, it's important to understand that the deep squat isn't about aesthetic perfection. It's not a gym movement to sculpt your glutes or legs. It's a daily ritual. It's about drinking from the spring of mobility, remembering that you're still capable of getting up and down on your own. That simple ability can make the difference between aging with limitations or aging with dignity, freedom, and vitality. In short, the deep squat isn't a whim or a fad. It's the ancient medicine we've ignored, a practice that gives us back what modernity stole from us: our connection to the earth, to our bodies, and to life itself. The secret to anti-aging isn't found in expensive creams or miracle capsules. It lies, as always, in simplicity. The body possesses its own alchemy, but it needs us to remember the actions that keep it alive. The deep squat shouldn't be a challenge, but rather an everyday skill, and recovering this posture can become a journey of physical and spiritual transformation. Here are some tips to make this movement an easy routine to implement in your life. First, start where you are. It doesn't matter if you can't get more than a few inches down today. The process isn't about forcing yourself, but about gradually remembering what your body already knew how to do. Sit in a low chair and practice getting up without using your hands. Use support if necessary, but do it with intention. Every day you try, you remind your muscles and joints of their original purpose. Second, make squatting a daily habit. Don't just reserve it for training. Integrate the pose into your life. When you pick something up from the floor, do so in a deep squat instead of hunching your back. When you need to rest, try staying in this position for a few seconds. Instead of always reaching for a chair, at first it will be uncomfortable, but over time, your body will recognize it as its natural home for movement. Third, breathe into the pose. The key is not just to lower yourself, but to stay and breathe consciously. Feel your hips expand, your ankles relax, and your diaphragm find a wider space to move. Imagine that each inhalation in this position is a sip of vital energy, and that each exhalation releases accumulated tension into the earth. Fourth, use the posture as a meditation. Don't view the deep squat solely as physical exercise. Transform it into a meditative ritual. Place your hands together in front of your heart. Close your eyes and remain silent. Observe what arises: discomfort, stiffness, thoughts. The posture teaches you patience and humility. You'll discover that staying balanced close to the ground also balances your mind. Fifth, make the ground your ally. Get closer to it in your daily life. Sit on the floor to read, watch television, or spend time with your family. Alternating between the floor and the squat position will strengthen your hips and knees without you even noticing. Remember, every minute you spend off the floor is a minute you forget your natural design. Sixth, celebrate every progress. Don't strive for perfection. Celebrate every extra second you can stay in the position, every extra inch you manage to lower, every time your body responds with greater fluidity. Progress in the deep squat is not measured in muscle, but in regained freedom. The true lesson is that you don't need to reinvent anything, just remember. The deep squat is the body's original language, and every time you practice it, you awaken the ancestral memory of vitality. Make it your daily ally, and you'll discover that anti-aging is not a myth, but a natural consequence of living in harmony with your own design. We've taken a journey that has taken us from the most ancient roots of humanity to the present, revealing a secret that the modern world has relegated to oblivion: the deep squat. The movement that 99% of people ignore, and that, however, can make the difference between aging stiffly or living with vitality. The most surprising thing about all this is its simplicity. It doesn't require gyms, expensive equipment, or complex programs. It's accessible to everyone, anywhere, anytime. The gesture of coming down to earth and rising again encapsulates the alchemy of youth. It strengthens muscles, frees joints, stimulates internal organs, and awakens the vital energy that flows through the body like a luminous river. But beyond the physical benefits, the deep squat offers us a spiritual lesson. Life is a constant cycle of descending and rebirth. Each time you descend, you accept the humility of returning to earth. Each time you ascend, you celebrate the strength of rising again. This pose is a reminder that no matter how many times you fall in life, the essential thing is to maintain the ability to rise with dignity. Aging, understood from the perspective of esoteric wisdom, is not only the passing of time, but the loss of connection with what is essential. When we stop moving as we were designed to, when we distance ourselves from the ground, we begin to forget our roots. And by forgetting, we age prematurely. Recovering the deep squat isn't just a physical act. It's a return to the ancestral memory of what it means to be alive. Now the choice is in your hands. You can continue ignoring this secret, searching external remedies that never come, or you can dare to rediscover what your body has always known how to do. It doesn't matter if it's difficult at first, if you need support, or if discomfort arises. Every attempt is a victory. Every second closer to the ground is a step toward freedom. Imagine your life in 20 or 30 years. How do you want to get there? With stiffness, dependence, and pain, or with the ability to move fluidly, to bend and stand up without fear, to live with dignity and autonomy? The answer lies in a gesture so simple that most people ignore it, but one that you've rediscovered today. Remember, true anti-aging isn't about denying the passage of time, but about living each year with a burst of movement and energy. The deep squat is the key that gives you back that possibility. If this knowledge resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. I invite you to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share this video with your loved ones, because every person who remembers this ancient secret will have the opportunity to recover their vitality and transform their future. Time will pass for everyone, but how we live it depends on our choices. Today, you have discovered a powerful choice: to return to the movement that preserves life,